Netflix's catalog of movies is one of the best among the streaming services vying for your hard-earned dollars. With around 4,000 movies to keep you entertained at any hour of the day, it's a good choice. But what are the darkest movies you'll find on Netflix that are actually still good? A Netflix original based on a book by Stephen King, Gerald's Game is an exercise in tension and total discomfort. Alongside it, Gerald's Game made 2017 a banner year for Stephen King adaptations, which have a rocky history in terms of quality. A very rocky history. Gerald's Game jumps into an awkward, uncomfortable scenario almost from the beginning and then ramps into overdrive and stays there for the rest of the film. King's book seemed like the sort of thing that would be nearly impossible to film given the nature of the story, but director Mike Flanagan gives it hell right out of the gates. It all makes for a psychological kick to the head, complete with one of the most hard-to-watch scenes ever filmed. You'll know it when you see it. The Verge called Gerald's Game one of Stephen King's worst books, but acknowledged it became one of his best movies at the same time, and critics agreed. Folk horror is a subgenre that deals with the modern, civilized world clashing with its dark pagan past. Key examples are 1973's The Wicker Man and 1968's Witchfinder General. These movies all deal with big city outsiders encountering the dangers that come with leaving the protective walls of town and delving into a darkness modern life thought it had left behind. 2017's The Ritual is a formidable new entry into that particular subgenre, dealing with four friends who embark on a trip dreamed of by the fifth member of their squad, who had been killed in a robbery the previous year. This trip takes the four British men deep into the woods of a Swedish national park, where they face harrowing visions and a terrifying monster. A lot of horror movies have that one scene where someone attempts an occult ritual, but then everything goes wrong and it's super overwhelming and terrifying? Well, 2016's A Dark Song is a stunning, lyrical, but also really scary movie that dares to ask, what if that one scene was the whole movie? A Dark Song tells the tale of a grieving mother who engages the services of an occultist to perform a hugely intricate and physically exhausting months-long ritual by which she hopes to summon her guardian angel and beg a favor. She has rented an enormous and lavish but crumbling mansion in the Welsh countryside to carry out her ritual away from human eyes, giving the entire film a creepy, isolated atmosphere. Needless to say, two clashing personalities in isolation doing highly stressful work means things don't go off without a hitch. Director Gareth Evans rose to cult fame thanks to 2011's The Raid, as well as its follow-up, 2014's The Raid 2. However, he caught the eye of horror fans with Safe Haven, his entry for 2013's VHS 2, which many fans have hailed as the best segment in the entire three-film anthology series. 2018 saw Evans return to both horror and religious cults in the Netflix original film Apostle, though in this one he moves away from his familiar Indonesian settings in favor of a utopian cult based on a Welsh island. Set in 1905, this movie features Dan Stevens, who, depending on who you are, you might know as Cousin Matthew from Downton Abbey, the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, or David Haller from Legion. In Apostle, Stevens plays a former missionary who is sent to infiltrate a mysterious cult who has kidnapped his sister, presumably with dark designs on her life. The further he digs into the truth of the cult while trying to keep himself from being discovered, the darker, bloodier, and more eye-opening events become. To be clear, 2017's Terrifier isn't exactly a good movie, but you're here for dark movies, and Terrifier fits that bill. It's dark, and it's also grimy and bloody and gross. If you want a scary movie full of subtext and themes, you should queue up It Follows or The Babadook. If you want a straight-ahead slasher throwback about a psycho clown, put this one on. Terrifier completely serves as a showcase for the character of Art the Clown, previously featured in the 2013 anthology All Hallows Eve, and the success of the film kind of hinges on his presence. Fortunately, Art is a genuinely disturbing character in his appearance and demeanor, helped immensely by the able performance of David Howard Thornton.